Welcome to What's Going On, the weekly podcast and videocast of First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of What's Going On. I'm Pastor Katie here at First United Methodist in Yankton, South Dakota, and I'm glad you could join me for this episode. It is November. October was a busy month, and I have been waiting for November to come. This feels like a breather for us a little bit in the life of the church, just because of how much we had packed into the month of October. But I do want to say, coming out of October, that was really fun and really exciting, and just thank you to everyone who made everything that we did this last month possible. And I just want to give a little recognition and shout out to our Bibles and Brews crew. That group that's been meeting every other week for about a year now did loads of love for us on Halloween. They took that project on for that night, and they had almost $300 worth of laundry that they helped do that night. And we had prayer requests coming in from people, and so just a huge thank you to those who gave of themselves, and especially of Halloween, to be there for those who are in need. This coming Sunday is really busy Sunday. I almost feel like I'm back in October. So I want to share a little bit about what we have coming up this week. Also, maybe before I do that, I should also give a shout out to our youth, our confirmation and youth group kids on Wednesday night did packing for the Sack Pack program through Food for Thought. And so they packed, and I think what they do is pack backpacks for that. And then that goes home with school-age kids to help cover their food for the weekend. So another big shout out to them for that. There's so much happening that you almost forget to be able to say and recognize everybody. And I'm going to always try to do that. Please remind me if I forget someone at some point. I always want to make sure that I'm recognizing the good that we're putting into the world. So this Sunday, starting off, we do have Christianity 101. That'll be at 8:30. We're going to be talking about sin. Everyone's favorite topic, is it not? We're going to be talking about sin theologically. What is sin? How do we experience sin? Is sin something that we do? Is sin a deeper, like the things that we do are symptoms of the sin that we carry? How did we get that sin? All those kinds of things. We're going to be talking about that because I think sin has really been a hot topic lately. And I think being clear about how we understand what sin is, what we call a sin, where do we get that from, I think is a really good conversation to have. And so I hope that you come this Sunday morning and let's just have a conversation and dig deep into a word that probably makes all of us a little bit uncomfortable. But let's be real, all of us are sinful in some way or another. And so let's talk about that. And let's not just talk about sins that other people might have, but maybe the sins that we have as well. I think so often we like to talk about sin in terms of, oh, that sinner over there, because that feels almost like, what is the phrase that people use, the young people use, like spilling the tea, a gossip and all drama and all that fun stuff. Talking about other people's sin can make us feel good, right? Because if I don't have that sin, then I'm somehow better than them. But the reality is we all carry sin, and it's not that much fun to talk about our own sin, but that's the sin we need to talk about. And what do we do with that? So 8:30 Sunday morning, Christianity 101. We meet right in Wesley Hall. So when you walk into the church, just keep walking straight in and you will find us. And then during worship this week, we are blessed to have Reverend Rebecca Treves, our district superintendent, with us. And she is going to be giving the message this week. And so I'm so excited to have her offer that for us. In the service, it's also, we're going to be celebrating All Saints Day. All Saints Day is really November 1st is the actual All Saints Day, but in the church, we recognize it on the Sunday that's following. And so in doing so, we are inviting you that if you have lost someone this year or even before that, we understand that grief and loss is not something that's time bound, but that we experience that grief and loss for the rest of our lives. And so if you have lost someone, that is still weighing on you and you want to honor and recognize the saints that have gone before, we invite you to bring a flower with you to worship on Sunday, and you're going to have an opportunity to add your flower to a bouquet that we will create together. And that bouquet will represent the beauty of the lives of the saints who have gone before, and recognizing how when we gather together, we are a beautiful community. And so we have sent out special invitations to those who have lost a loved one in our church in the last year. But again, we open that up, that if you have a loved one, and it doesn't matter if they were family or a friend or a mentor, whoever, if you would like to bring a flower and recognize them in that way this Sunday, we would love for you to do that. And so we will be doing that in the worship service. We also have communion. And we're going to do our best, but I'm going to be honest with you, we will probably not be done in an hour. Just because that we have these special things happening in the service. And I think it's more important for us to give time and space to that than to worry about just being right at an hour. And I say that because I have every intention and every expectation that all of you are going to stay after worship on Sunday anyway, because immediately following worship, we're going to be having our Charge Conference. Charge Conference is a language we use in the United Methodist Church. And other churches, you might hear something along the lines of like an annual meeting. Our Charge Conference is our meeting of our membership in order to hear what's been going on and to vote on some things. And so the things that we are going to be voting on this Charge Conference will be my compensation form as your pastor that has been put forward by the staff pastor parish relations committee as part of the leadership team. So it's gone through that group, it's gone through leadership team, and now it's coming to you as the full congregation. And understand that some of the figures on that compensation form are not in our control, but in control, their insurance and things like that, which we don't get to choose what those numbers are. I say all of that. It's very awkward for me to talk about my compensation form, but I just want you to know that that's part of it. Another part of it will be voting on our nominations list. That is the people who will be serving in the leadership team in the coming year. So the way leadership team is set up is every year there will be at least 3 people that come off, one from finance, one from trustees, one from SPPR. And then depending on the 3-year rotation for our lay leader and our annual conference delegate that serves on leadership team, those positions can come open as well. So this year, we actually have 4 coming off because one person on leadership team discerned that this was not the right fit for them, and they are choosing to devote their time elsewhere in the church, and I am grateful for their honest discernment in that process. And so we have 4 new people that nominations is putting forward who have applied to be on leadership team so the way that we do nominations now is those who are coming off leadership team form the nominations team to review the applicants and say, yep, we think these would be great people. We do it that way because they've been on. They know what the role is. They know what the expectations are. And so they're the best people to be able to say, I believe this person's going to do a great job and has the skills needed and can learn what needs to be learned to do and serve the church in this way. So that's why we do it that way. So you will be voting to approve that list. Also, it'll include our annual conference delegates. One note that I do want, and we'll talk about it again on Sunday, is we have 1 extra person on our delegate slate than we have spots. And the reason we're doing that is they are going to be the alternate because things happen between now and June, which is a long time from now. And that way, if one of our delegates is unable to go, we have already had the alternate approved to be able to go, and we can just plug them right in. So, so that is another piece. One of the things we will not be voting on is the budget. The budget for 2024 is not done yet. Part of the reason for that is we are still taking in your pledges. Thank you to everyone who has already submitted their estimate of giving for 2024, or also known as a pledge. If you haven't done so, there is still time to do that. Please, we would love to have that, because we use that information to help us figure out the budget for 2024. Also, again, I'm just going to put it out there. If you have the ability at the end of this year to give a little bit extra toward the budget for this year, that would be great. We are running a little bit short. And I am so grateful for everyone who has been fulfilling their pledges. But if you could consider a little extra for the rest of the year, that would be wonderful. We do have reserves. We're not destitute by any means, but we don't want to be using our reserves every year to just meet the budget, because they will run out at some point. And so the best option is if the people of our church can come together, if they believe in what we're doing, if they're honoring God with what they're giving. I do believe that it's very possible for us to meet the budget that we have so faithfully discerned and put forward. So the budget will get approved in December by the leadership team. That is within the bylaws that we are able to do that, which is why it's so important that we have really faithful people, and why we do the application process for the leadership team, because we want to make sure that that's a really big responsibility, and so that the people who are helping to make those decisions are very committed to the church and very committed to the role that they play within the church. And so we will have our charge conference in the sanctuary immediately following worship, meaning I'm not going to leave the sanctuary. I'm not going to be exit greeting on Sunday, because I'm going to stay in the sanctuary for our meeting. And I hope that you do as well. And if you were worried, be like, I got to get out of there. I got to feed my family. I got to get to frying pan. We're going to feed you as well. Our thank you for coming to and participating in the Charge Conference annual meeting is that once the meeting is over, leadership team is providing a meal for you, because we really want you to be a part of it. We really want to hear your voice. I think it's really important for our district superintendent to hear from our church. And so I really want you there. And even if you're not a member, you can still be at the meeting. You just can't vote. It's the only, but you can be there. You can be heard. Your voice matters. But if you are a member, if you've been confirmed in the church, you are a member, and we want you to be there to hear from her and for her to hear from you. And so then, yes, immediately following Charge Conference, that meeting will go downstairs to Wesley Hall, where you will be treated to lunch. And you don't even have to cook it or clean it up or anything. So praise the Lord, right? And I believe, to be honest, I don't know what we're having. That's not up to me. So I'm sure it'll be good, whatever it is, because it always is. I've never had a bad meal here at the church. And then Sunday afternoon, we'll be at HSC at 4:00 and doing worship there. I really feel like that is an extension of our church when we are there. And so I've been so grateful. We've had a few people that have started coming just to worship with the people of HSC. And it's a really simple thing to do. It's not hard. You come and you sit, and it's not even the same service of what you would have just heard Sunday morning, because I tailored that service to that congregation. And that's how I see it, is they are our congregation as well. And we will also be honoring All Saints and having communion in that service. But if you are interested in coming and being a part of that, we would love to have you. Again, I think it means so much to the patients who are there, that there are people in Yankton who care about them, because so often they feel very alone. They feel very forgotten. They feel very like the world doesn't want them. And that breaks my heart. But having people that come who don't have any other role in the service other than to just sit and be with them and to include them in part of our community, I can't express to you what that means. They are incredibly impressed by that. They, I think, are very humbled by that. And it's an easy thing for you to do, and just to sit and be there and help reaffirm that they are lovely, beloved children of God. And so that's what we are doing at 4. And then Pastor Katie's gonna need a nap. I don't know why sometimes I talk in third person. At 6 o'clock, we are going to be having our first visioning team meeting. I've mentioned here and there a little bit about my conviction to have a visioning team moving forward to help our church to see and embrace what God is doing now. I think as I mentioned before, we have a lot of grief over how much things have changed, and the world has changed, and we have changed, and the church has changed. But in all of that change, there's an opportunity for us to be the church in this new world, to be the church as we have changed, and to have a vision for what that is, because it's not what has been. God is calling us to something new. And so I've invited some people in our church to be a part of a visioning team, and we're going to start that work this Sunday evening here at the church. I am sharing this one. If you feel like, man, I really want to be a part of that, please let me know. I would love for you to be a part of it. But also to be praying for that group, that God would really speak in that time that we have together, and that we can come out of that time with not only a clear vision, but a plan for how we're going to move the church in that direction. So I'm very excited about that work, and very excited about the people who have agreed to do that work with me. Your time is precious, and I'm very grateful that you're willing to offer that to God and to our church. That was just Sunday. That was just one day. But I will say that after that, November becomes a little bit calmer. We are turning our attention honestly to December. I've been working really hard lately on getting our Advent things in place, and we're going to be doing our Blue Christmas service this year with the UCC Church. We've just really feel blessed by getting to do things with another church and joining our congregations in that way, in those kind of extra services, extra things that we do. And so we're going to be getting that on the schedule before Christmas. The kids are turning their attention to the Christmas program and getting those things started. So there's a lot happening. Advent doesn't start until December this year, which is a little bit late, but that's because the fourth Sunday of Advent is actually Christmas Eve. So Christmas Eve, you can come to church in the morning and have the fourth Sunday of Advent, and then you come back in the evening and we'll do Christmas Eve. It'll be a full day, but honestly, it's one of my, as far as the schedule around Christmas goes, it's actually my favorite. So know that that's kind of where my mind is right now, as far as planning, as far as what I'm thinking about is I'm fully on into December already, and we just barely cracked November. But I'm very excited. One of the things I want to reach out to you and want you to be thinking about is if you are interested in helping us decorate for Advent and the Christmas season here in the church. We're always going to be looking for people who are like to do that kind of stuff and are willing. Let us know so that when we start to get that on the schedule, we can be reaching out to you. Also, we have some other mission things coming up. We have Angel Tree, which is our annual mission for doing Christmas gifts for the children of Milks Camp. And so be on the lookout. That's going to be getting set up later this month. And again, we would love to have you be a part of that by taking an angel or two and buying Christmas gifts for the children of Milks Camp. I'm really excited. One of the things that we're doing this year a little bit that we haven't done before and probably won't do again is we had a bunch of teddy bears that were donated to us by a family who lost a loved one who collected teddy bears, and they wanted those teddy bears to be a blessing to someone. And our first thought was they need to go to the children of Milks Camp. And so this year, a lot of those gifts are going to have a teddy bear added to them. So I'm really excited about that. And that's really cool. We also Oh, what else do we have? We're going to be doing another Christmas tree out at the Mead Cultural Center. And so if that's something that sparks your joy, that you're like, I love decorating Christmas trees, we would love to have you. I would get in touch with Carla Hummel. Carla is our missions coordinator. And so she can I think she would be more than happy to have some willing volunteers and people who want their creative juices flowing to help with that. And then also, I'm just going to put a plug in because I've been hearing it on the radio. If there's anyone in our church who has the capacity and the ability to do a float for our church for the Christmas parade, the light parade, is that what I think I would know what it's called? Anyway, I would love for our church to have a float. I just do not have the capacity to do that by myself, nor do I want to. But if there are people who, hey, I have a trailer, I have a generator, I have some lights, I'm creative. I would love for our church to have something in the parade that people can see that we are part of this community, and kind of get us on people's radars. I would love that. And so I'm going to put that plug out there that if there's someone who's listening to this who thinks I could maybe do that, I would love it. I would love it, love it, love it. So please let me know. So yeah, there's just a lot of opportunity. We're coming into a great time of year. And it just makes me so excited. What doesn't make me excited is what's going on in the world. And just my heart is a little bit broken over the stories that are coming out of the Middle East, over the what's coming out of Maine and elsewhere, and just the level of violence and the level of hatred and the level of sin. This is what I would call sin, right? That is in the world. And this morning before I started recording this podcast, I read that in the amount of time that the attacks in the Middle East have begun, 3,600 children in Palestine have died. Children. When we have these wars and these ideologies and these belief systems where violence seems to be the answer, you know who suffers are the innocent, the children who no longer have a future because of decisions that adults have made who don't even know them. And I think of the children in Maine. It does not have to be this way. We must do better. And it starts right here. It starts with us. There is a hymn in our hymnal, and I'm going to look it up as I get myself together a little bit. Um, it just, it should break our hearts to hear that. And I think we're getting to be too numb to these stories of violence, these stories of war, and we think, you know, they must deserve it, or it's so far away, but it's really not. These are people that are like you and me. The hymn that I'm thinking about is hymn number 431. Let there be peace on earth. I'm going to try to sing it, but we'll see how it goes. Because I just really believe these stories are going against God's will. God's will for us is peace. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my song of love. To take each sunlight and let it be with. May that be our prayer. And I like what this song says when it says, let peace begin with me. And let this be the moment now. Let me start today by being a person of peace, that I am not adding to the vitriol. I am not adding to the violence. I'm not adding to the rhetoric that defends any sort of action that takes the life of innocent people. That I'm not contributing to the politicizing of things that are heartbreaking. But instead, I am willing and committing to live each moment contributing to peace. Peace in my heart, peace in my family, peace in my church, peace in my community, and peace in my world. We have no greater calling than this. And we as the church need to step up and show a different way in the world, because our world is in such desperate need for God and need for God's peace. So please consider, as we go through this month, as we are grateful for the things that we have, may we also make a solemn vow to be a part of the solution. And I believe that that solution involves peace. I hope to see you this Sunday. God bless. See you next time. Thank you for listening to this episode of What's Going On. We'd love to have you join us for worship here at the church on Sundays at 10 a.m. You can also find us online via our website at firstumcyankton.org or search for us on YouTube.